Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wells session. This morning in this room we were looking at reservoir technologies, what can be done to de-risk targets we're going after, eliminate some of the issues to do with that. This afternoon, what we're going to be doing is looking at what we can do with the wells. The wells are a huge cost, a huge part of any development, but what can we actually do differently, and we have to do something differently to enable all these marginal fields. If we keep doing the same thing as we've always done, the industry is going to die. So what can we do differently? But it doesn't always mean doing things cheaper. I know that's unfortunate, but it's not always about doing things cheaper. Although getting the basics right and eliminating the problems is a good step. Sometimes we need to spend a little bit more money in order to increase the recovery from the reserves, which will help the overall project economics. So this afternoon, we're going to have 4 highly experienced speakers, a few before coffee break and then after. We're going to do the Q&A at the end, so please keep your questions till the end, and that'll give us time, keep us on time, and give everybody an opportunity to ask questions. So just before we start, it's probably around there somewhere, just to reiterate about alarms and things, no planned fire alarm this afternoon. If it does go off, if it's a continuous alarm, then we have to evacuate immediately, and the muster point is car park 2, that's the one beside the tower bit. If it's an intermittent alarm, then there's a problem somewhere in the complex. We don't have to leave, but we just have to be mindful that we may be asked to leave at some point throughout the afternoon. But hopefully we're not going to have any of that. We're going to have a really interesting afternoon. The agenda's there. I'm not going to read it out, 1, because it's a bit small, and 2, because you've probably all got it in your handouts. So first we're going to hear from Iain Hutchison. So Iain set up and CEO of Merlin Extended Reach Drilling. MerlinERD people have a reputation for drilling further, faster, and without problems. Iain himself, for anybody who hasn't met him, is a very, very energetic individual. He tells me he's totally risk-averse. But as for somebody who actually built his own plane and flies it, even though he's got 3 children and to support, etc., you do kind of wonder about that. So he must be doing something to eliminate, to de-risk that. So I'd like to invite Iain to come and start us off with his tennis ball, which will become clear.
Good afternoon. Let me set my timer. I can talk for Scotland. That's my mother's fault. So I have a timer here which will open the floor if I talk for too long, and the tennis ball will become apparent. Thank you very much, Margaret. Malcolm, great to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, for your attention and for 20 minutes of your life that you'll never get back. We're here, it's Heroes Wanted. It's all about wells, which is quite convenient, seeing as this is the wells section. The more wells we drill, the more production we'll get. So it seems pretty straightforward. Why don't we just go and drill more wells? Well, there are some hurdles that we're experiencing, especially in the UK North Sea, and its cost. And our cost on the wells has doubled in time over the last 10 years, whereas in other regions of the world, we're seeing it coming down, and the cost per barrel of production going down with it. We've got to change. We don't have any choice. Well, we don't have to change it, but it is change or die. We either do things better, cheaper, faster, less risk, or we're going to drill less wells. If we can drill cheap, dependable wells, we'll drill more and we'll get more production. It's not difficult. That's how it's going to go. If 20 years ago, this is the tennis ball. Anybody want a tennis ball? Catch. If 20 years ago, you can pass this around as much as you want, or not. So I'm not worth any money, right? If it hits someone and it hurts you, I'm sorry. You can sue me if you wish, but you're not going to get anything. So please be careful with it. If I stood in front of you 20 years ago and told you that a Scotsman would not only be a gold winner at the Olympics for tennis, but also double Wimbledon champion, what would you have thought? Yeah, put yourself back 20 years ago. Yeah, we're going to have a Scotsman, Wimbledon champion. What have you been smoking? You've been in the pit room too long. Get him some fresh air. One of the people that believed that was Andy Murray, and particularly Judy Murray, but she thought it was the other son that was going to happen. But so it's about belief. There's aspiration, belief, perseverance, working through to deliver that. I stand in front of you today and I tell you that we could double production from the UK North Sea and that we could add 10 billion barrels if we leverage technology that's being used around the world and we take a what will it take approach. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you think that's a ridiculous statement, but let me tell you, it's no more ridiculous than how it would have been 20 years ago with the Wimbledon. So what I want to do is just challenge that, those concepts. We can drill further, we can drill faster, and we can drill cheaper than we think we can. And we can do that at a lower risk. So as Margaret said in the introduction, I'm pretty risk averse. When we take on a well, sometimes people say, what's the chances of success? And my answer, well, it's 100%. I say, well, it can't be 100%. I say, it's 100%. Okay, I say, it's 99.9. I say, what do you want it to be? It's 100%. If we're going to take on a well, we use this technology and the proven approach, it's going to be delivered. Statistically, let's be honest, it's not 100%. It's going to be highs. If you get on an aeroplane and it's going from Aberdeen to London or perhaps somewhere where more exotic, and the pilot comes on and she announces, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and we are heading to Madrid today, and we're looking forward, and the weather is 32 degrees, and the beer is cold, and we've got a 72.3% chance of getting there, you're going to get off. So why do we accept it with our wells? There are operators out there and people that are working with the leading suppliers that do not lose BHAs. So the Merlin track record is we've lost one BHA in 10 years. And we're not sitting at home doing nothing, because that's one way we could do it. We're out drilling the hardest, most challenging wells with some pretty dedicated clients, some people working in areas where the local teams aren't at the competence level you choose. People are brilliant. No one ever goes out to do a bad job. Most of the well engineers here and stuff will freely understand extended reach drilling. Little slides so people can see what are the opportunities and how does that relate to the small pools in the 30th round. So if you have a small pool which perhaps isn't economically viable on its own, marginal, perhaps there's an infrastructure nearby that you can drill it from, extended reach. Perhaps you can tie it back subsea, but please look at both. It might be extended reach drilling isn't for that opportunity. It might be it is, but if we don't look at it, we won't know. And please, please don't take the subjective, no, it's not possible. Go in and ask, what will it take? What's it going to take for this to be successful? Then decide and look at do the engineering and be driven by the engineering. What's happened around the world? This slide is out of date. The record well is now 15 kilometres measured depth, drilled by ExxonMobil in Sakhalin. And it's got a horizontal displacement of approximately 12.6 kilometres. That's out beyond 40,000 feet. It's almost 50,000 feet measured depth. Had I stood here 20 years ago and said, we'll have wells out at 50,000 feet, you might have thought, difficult, plausible, maybe. So that's where we are, and we're going further. People are brilliant. Man likes to solve problems and go further. What about the North Sea? Here's something interesting. These are wells in the North Sea, the UK and Norwegian sector. So when we're talking to people, we'll get things in the North Sea. People are quite resistant. They say, oh, it's a lot more difficult in the North Sea. It's harder. The equipment's older. The rock's harder. The formations are challenging. Other people around the world have challenging drilling conditions as well. Offshore California, the equipment's a lot older than it is in the North Sea, and they drill 7-kilometre wells. The Norwegians are out there at 8.5 kilometres towards 9 kilometres reach, and yet in the UK we're only out at 6.5 kilometres for equivalent areas. The rock doesn't know its nationality, right? That's a mindset and an opportunity bias, and there are some reasons for it, some of them very good, but all addressable to go forward. So I want to just pique your interest there and say, okay, what do we do differently? Did a little bit of work with Thistlewell, and actually we did some work and told them not to use us because they didn't need to, because they could do something simpler and things. But when I was out on the Black Dog platform, what it was called, I drew this up in my spare time. This is an example of the reach. 10 kilometres, 15 kilometres, 10 kilometres isn't going to worry us too much. A bit of work in the North Sea to go that far may or may not be viable. 15 kilometres technology. If we're drilling that area today, not only could we produce the thistle from a reservoir, we could produce the Murchison, Dunlin, and if we moved the drill centre down to the southeast, we could exploit Statfjord, Murchison, Thistle and Dunlin with ERD technology, probably reducing the capital spend by about $4 billion. That's a guess. Happy to be corrected. Maybe it's only $2 billion. I'll happily settle for 1% of that. Okay, what's the proof? What's the proof that technology can help us? Why am I standing here and saying that, yep, drilling technology, it can do, there's so much more we can do with it. That sounds like a great story. It could be just Iain's hot air for the afternoon, 22nd of August, Aberdeen. Well, here's what's happening where the mother of necessity is the mother of invention. And if you work in US shale oil, you have a necessity to drop your costs. Or you have over the last 4 years. And guess what? They've responded, because if they didn't do this, they weren't going to be working. So what they've done is they've put technology, and in particular well engineering technology, into this, and a lot of drilling, fracking completions as well, but a lot of drilling to get these wells cheaper, faster, further, quicker. Their onshore record reach well is now 18,500 feet reservoir contact in a 27,000 foot well, I think. You know, so that's onshore US. The longest reservoir contact is 34,000 feet with Maersk in Qatar. But here's what we see. We see costs per barrel dropping from 2013 at $60 in the Bakken down to $30. And there's a lot of high tech. I was out presenting. We're doing some work in the shales. We've just done some design work in Argentina for the Vaca Muerta. And there's lots of great technology being there. So it's not a low-tech environment as I thought it was before I went out. So we're all going to continue to learn things there. It's not just about the latest technologies. So we're not drilling many ERD wells. One of the things I get, we talk to clients, oh, we're not drilling any ERD wells. And I say, well, that's okay. Neither are we. We're not doing very many ERD wells. We're doing a few designs. But actually, Merlin makes its money applying what we've learned on the frontier of drilling engineering technology and bringing it back into the everyday. So imagine you've developed technology for a Le Mans racing car. Well, you're not going to make a lot of money selling that. But if that technology goes into the family saloon that goes to Tesco's or Morrison's every week, that's a big market. So what we do, and it's essential for success and delivering these successes in extended reach well, can be applied to any deviated well. This is an example from over 20 years ago, getting on for 25 years ago in Australia, ExxonMobil, Esso of the time, the Bass Strait. This is what they were getting days to drill to total depth. So we have, that's the number of days, that's the total depth. So to get to 15,000 feet was taking them 75 days, more or less. They were using conventional drilling practices. They were getting pack-offs, stuck pipe, they were reaming, they were doing wiper trips. It was pretty difficult. Occasionally you would get a well from hell. Come on, I don't know what we're doing here, it's awful. And then they found that perhaps there's another way. Every problem is just waiting for a solution. So they took a thinker and thought, right, we've heard about this ERD practices, and actually some of our guys have been drilling some pretty impressive wells in California. Maybe we can apply these practices here. And hey, look, the physics seems to make sense as well, and how we're removing cuttings from the wellbore, what's happening downhole. So they applied extended reach drilling practices, and hey presto, here's the evidence. Now, to get to 17,000 feet, it's only taking 68 days. 20 days extra production on average. So if you're an asset manager and you're getting 20 days extra production from each and every well that you drill that year, that's going to add up. If they're making 20,000 barrels a day, that number is going to be so big, you're going to add it up again. that's too much. Oh, gosh, that's a lot of money. Guess what? When you give people success, it breeds success. It's like money. Money makes money. Success makes success. People get into flow, get engaged. What if we do that? We can change this. So what happens next? We get more practices. The engineers aren't fighting problems anymore. They're fighting successes and gathering successes and looking at where they can leverage it and probably getting some successes that they didn't expect. So the clever ones are going, they're just as important as learnings from problems. That went better. Why did it go better? Can we replicate it? So here we are. That's what they've done. Now they're drilling to 20,000 feet in 60 days. And this is 20 years ago. We see that this is the best data set that I have as a presentation. So there's no apologies that it's 20 years old. It's just the best data set. It's all in the same area. We see this time and time again. We go in, people have a long budget, realistic for the previous performance. We put some extra bits in, or it's just back to basics engineering. That's all it is, done in a bit more detail. And then the well comes in predictably. And the first time they go, that was lucky. And the second time, your superintendent, who's usually a bit cynical, he'll go, oh, well, I think they're still lucky. Third time, even superintendents are pretty bright, and they go, hey, there's something in this. Let's get some more of it. Fast forward, 10 years ago, there's the evolution, new tools. We're drilling to 7 kilometers, 21,000 feet in 30 days, drilled and completed, flow down the pipeline. So you can see that that's a huge gain. Think about the extra money. If you're shorter time drilling these wells, the economics are going to be better. What are the economics going to look like? Ta-da! This is, it's a little bit out of focus. Can we? I'll talk you through it. This is money. This is spend. That's profit. These are days. The blue line represents drilling a well. So all the drill crew get together, spend lots of money on a DWOP, drink lots of beer, but put it through as refreshments. And then it comes down here. So we're spending money, drilling the well, completing it, put it on stream. It starts generating revenue. We start paying back the money we've got. And then it gets to break even. And then this is all profit. If you have a problem, it takes longer until you start getting to payback. And you'll spend more. So then you have the same sort of slope, a little bit down for your money. Guess what it does to your profit? Your profit is the area under this graph. So if you have drilling problems and you've got a low rate or low value production well, it's going to kill your profitability straight away. So if you're in a mature area like the North Sea where you've got low returns on your wells and high risk, it's easy to justify not taking those risks. This is where the Oil and Gas Authority, the regulator, the government is pushing to encourage people to do the most they can to extract the remaining reserves and to overcome those risks that are holding us back. So, we can drill. What I've shown you today, and it's not what I hope to have shown you, it's what I've shown you. And if you've not seen this, come and ask me or take a card. I'll leave some cards on the table. You know, phone calls and emails are free. You can drill further than you think. You can drill faster than you think. We see this time and time again. And you can do it at a lower risk, time, and cost. And your people working for you are brilliant. Some of them are stupidly brilliant, but they're all brilliant. They'll all make mistakes. But if we encourage them to go through, everybody goes out to do a good job. Often they have problems. And as a manager, you have to support them through that problem. And if they find a company that can contribute and make their previous performance look amateurish, you need to thank them and reward them for that, not chastise them and ask them why didn't you do that sooner? Like the chief executive of SOCAR at a meeting I was at, why didn't you get these guys in sooner? Oh, no, it's just good we're here. It's all about drilling. It's very easy to come to these things, have some nice food, meet colleagues, friends, walk away thinking that was great, and it be nothing more than a talking shop. And we've had too many of those in the past. So my request to each and every one of you here is when you go away, do something different. Even if it's going up and thanking your team or asking them, what will it take for us to break a record? Or what are we going to do? How are we going to make the money? What do you need? How can we check this? Go and do something different. and then hopefully your time here has been positive today. Others have done it, others are doing it. Let's leverage their learning curve and be pleased that they've brought this to us, that we can gain from it. We don't have to develop it here all the time for it to be a success. It starts with you, it starts with me, it starts with all of us. Go out, what will it take? And don't be constrained by past problems. What is it we need to do today to make our tomorrow brighter? I'll leave you with that.